So you know what's crazy about this whole Juneteenth thing is that I honestly feel like people that don't like it and the people that do love it, I don't think it really matters. Like I really think that it's not one of those things where we need to be like super divided and upset about. George Floyd is one of those things where everybody needs to be on the same side.
Yeah, agreed.
Juneteenth is not like, it's just not one of those things. What do you think?
I agree. I am glad we talked about it, though. I'm glad that that it's been raised, because I think more than just assigning a holiday, other stuff needs to happen. So let's keep each other accountable.
Yeah. And so I think for me, like the big thing was like, well, you know, I didn't grow up celebrating Juneteenth, and it doesn't matter to me one way or another if it's a holiday, you know, and if white companies are making it a holiday, that doesn't really, you know, it's like, where's our reparation? There's all these other things, right? So like, I get that side. And then I also get the side of like, well, this is a good first step and stuff like that. For you, if it's a good first step, like what would you as a consultant want to see happen because of this first step? What other things would you want?
Well, what's really cool is I just had a conversation with one of my clients. We did a little roundtable gathering that we called the Juneteenth Freedom Gathering. And we just shared like what kind of transformative actions do you commit to so that this just isn't, you know, a performative thing. And for me, I said, I want to keep continuing to get at the truth and putting the truth out there. And part of that is raising up our true history that is trying to be suppressed through things like the fight against critical race theory and this whole, you know, politicizing of critical race theory. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah.
Should we go there? You want to go there?
We totally could, because I didn't watch the whole thing, but I started watching this newscast on, I think, MSNBC with a woman. They were interviewing a Black woman who started critical race theory. And, you know, she was saying the term really has nothing to do with how it's being politicized right now. It's really about studies that's done in higher education. It doesn't even affect, you know, what's going on in grade schools and high schools and stuff like that. But the politicians, the GOP, is using it as a way of rallying conservatives. It's similar to transphobic kind of bills that are being passed now. This is another way to rally the troops around conservative votes. To me, that's what this is about.
That is fascinating. So you think this is a marketing ploy?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think a lot of people in this country probably don't even realize it, but that's what's being done.
Honestly, that kind of went over my head at first. When you first said it, I was like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. But I didn't think of that at first.
And what's scary is they're actually passing laws in states to suppress education around race. Not that it was that prevalent to begin with, but they're actually passing laws to get at whatever is being taught around race. And there's a big outcry about that. This is an issue.
Right.
I mean, this is one of the things that people are like, you know, I don't care about Juneteenth. What I care about is, you know, the way that history is being suppressed and the wealth gap and these other things. But yeah, critical race theory, now that they're politicizing it and touting it and all this stuff, it's just another kind of scapegoat for the conservative vote.
You know, what's crazy is that when I hear you say that, and I think about maybe somebody that's conservative, here's like an example, right? Somebody who is super religious and aligns conservative with certain things, but maybe not Trump, but maybe just conservative on a lot of things, a lot of issues, right? Like abortion, all these things.
Yeah.
Even someone like that would disagree with this. And so I almost even want to say it's not even conservative. Yeah. But what would you?
But again, I feel the same way about some of the legislation that's being passed against transgender people. Again, there was no issue around transgender people in sports, but I feel like politicians are looking for ways of harping on things to gather conservative vote. And so I do think there are some people out there that feel like the whole argument is that oh, this is bringing up stuff that's going to be divisive in our country.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's not going to be good for our country. To me, history is important. History is important because, as you can see, some of the stuff that is coming up has been stuff that's being said, throughout for decades. And the fact that we're repeating the same thing over and over tells me that it's important to get history out there and acknowledge it and do something to change it. Suppressing it because, feelings are going to be hurt or people are going to feel like they're divided. To me, I think that's quite frankly BS. I think it's just a ploy to keep history from getting out there. Because as you can see, when our allies, when white people start to understand what's really going on, then substantive change happens. There's a different course of action in our country. And I think some people are concerned if too much history gets out, you'll continue to get that support from white people. And they don't want that to happen. They don't want things to change. So I honestly think that's what this is truly about.
Man, that's hard. That's deep. Damn. Because here's the thing: it's like I'm trying to play devil's advocate, and I'm having usually I'm really good at that, like playing devil's advocate, because I'm very like neutral type of person in terms of like hearing other people's opinions out, even if I don't agree with them. Right?
You want to be objective.
Right.
I understand that.
Right, and so I don't think I can come up with one for that. I really don't, because like I'm trying to think, well, what would the other angle be of banning critical race theory? And there is no negative effects on child emotional health. There's I can't come up with one.
No.
Have you heard what their excuse is? Have you heard one?
For going against critical race theory?
Yeah, like what's like the rationale? The
rationale is that it will hurt white people's feelings and it will cause divisiveness in our country.
Divisiveness.
That's the rationale.
Yeah, I think that I've heard the divisiveness one.
But here's my thing, and this is something to think about. And I'm just going to get radical for a moment here. If the rationale against critical race theory is that it will hurt white people's feelings, then why, when a Black person is accused of a crime, are they front and center in the media? If it's about concern about hurting people's feelings. Mm-hmm. To me, I don't buy that argument.
Right.
I don't buy that argument. I think it's just people there's a certain group of people who don't want the truth to get out there because of buy-in from allies, buy-in from other white people that helps to move things along, that helps for substantive change to occur, just like in the Chauvin trial. When we come together on things.
That went over a lot of people's head. Break that down. Just like in the Chauvin trial. Break that down.
So the fact that you had all kinds of people protesting, not just Black people, you had all kinds of people protesting. The spotlight was on this trial for that reason. And I think people knew if things went a certain way, it wouldn't be just Black people going, oh, this is crazy. It was going to be all kinds of people. There was a lot more at stake with the verdict of this trial for that reason. So I think, to me, that is kind of a standard. And we've seen this in the past, right? The Freedom Riders, when white people were involved back in the 60s, it made a difference. It made a difference in how things got done. And so we're repeating that cycle now of getting allies involved. And I think that is causing a change in the outcome of things versus, the last umpteen years since the 60s where things haven't changed very much. I think that's the difference.
I wonder if people feel the change as authentic this time around, or if they feel like it's just another cycle.
I think people realize that this is a moment in our history where the attention is there. And so to maximize that attention for that reason and get as much done as we can for that reason. So back to our conversation about Juneteenth, I can understand why people are like, during this time, we need like serious things to happen. It's got to be more than just a gesture. There's too much at stake. There's too much opportunity right now to make a difference. Even the way the government is lined up and the fact that Democrats are in power or whatever right now. Now is the time to take advantage of kind of the way things are set up and get as much done as you can. So I get it. I get where people are like, there's got to be more. And I agree. There has to be more.
Right.
I totally agree with that.
Right. But you feel that the Juneteenth was an appropriate step.
I feel like it was a first step because it acknowledges history. It acknowledges truth. And to me, that's important. And even if, again, we're talking about the need for allies and bringing others along, I think it puts that visibility out there about the holiday and makes people want to learn more about it. Now, the way it went down, and this is something that came up in my conversation with people, with my client, the way that it happened so fast, and there was not any kind of discussion about we're working on this and here's why, or even getting, feedback from people to see if that's really something we wanted, to me, that's, as a former marketer, this is like low hanging fruit.
Right.
To me, that's what that looks like. It's like, oh, we're going to do something quick. Yeah. We're going to get something done. We're going to get something done and we're going to get it done quick. Right. So the fact that it looked kind of rushed was probably the fastest we've ever seen our government come together on anything. It tells me that that's an initial step. They're trying to do something, but it's okay to demand more. And I think we're early enough in the administration. I hope to see more. I want to see more. And we should hold our government accountable for doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we were talking about, my opinion on it is just that I feel like it wasn't something that I knew about growing up at all. And so it becoming like a thing now was weird and like not authentic to me. However, from the vantage point of this is helping the cause and helping white people be more in tune, that's a positive thing. It's just not something that I care about or care to celebrate.
Gotcha.
That's the truth. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And I think for people who do celebrate it, that's fine.
That's awesome.
That's great. I think Texas my wife told me Texas has had it as a holiday for years. I didn't even know that.
Oh, wow.
Didn't know that. Yeah. There's Black people who've been celebrating it for years. So I think that's fine. I think that's great. But I also get your point of view, similar to you. I never celebrated it, but I like the idea that it's something in my history that I didn't know about, that I'm learning about, and is important to me. Yeah, like you said, building that awareness also with our allies, I think helps to bring them along and keeps them engaged in the cause, which is important.
So one of the things that's really been heavy on my spirit, I got to talk to somebody about this.
Uh-oh. Black
Lives Matter, but with the caveat that white tears, white guilt does not matter.
Oh, wow.
That's been ringing true for me. And I hate to be that guy, but that's just my honest 100%. Like if I were to have to be 100% authentic, nobody's 100% authentic in everything, because you have to do certain things a certain way to get certain places. We all know that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I can't go on LinkedIn right now and be like, I'm tired of white people complaining. I could never just say that way. Right. But we're having a real talk right now. So that is how I always have really felt.
Yeah.
Deep down in my spirit, I know that's just not what the world of the universe needs right now.
Say more about why you feel that way in your spirit. Say more about that. Where's that coming from?
That's coming from a place of, I'm not really subscribing to the agenda of like Black emotional labor to help allies. I feel like, to be honest with you, like I think all that is like I feel like it's labor intensive. Not only, I feel like it's toxic straight up. I just don't like I don't like the optic. I don't. I understand that it's necessary. I understand that it's, you got to pick your battles and all that stuff. I just feel like for me in my personal life and how I conduct business and all that, like, for example, I have a client, Jen Self, amazing. Jen never comes to me. She's they are a DI consultant. Jen will never come to me, be like, they'll never hit me with that weird shit where it's like, how are you feeling today? Or what can I do? All of that weird energy, all of it. You know what it looks like.
I do.
And I feel like that's a real ally.
Yeah.
I feel like all that other performative and, well, okay, George died, so I'm gonna text you, and I haven't texted you in 5 years. No. Get out of here with that weird shit. I don't want any of that energy over here, man.
I was in a what do you call it, a hallway on Clubhouse. I think they call them hallways. And it was with this group that had Black lawyers, a lot of Black people in there, but there were some white people in there too. And we were waiting on the Chauvin trial. And I remember a white person asking a question, like, what can I do? And I'm here to support you and da 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 da. And somebody just shut it down and was like, this is not the place. This is not the place for that. We're not here to educate you on, somebody else needs to do that for you. This isn't the place. Right. And I think that is the answer to what you're saying, is we as Black people have to decide when is the place for that for us. And I think that's an individual thing. Right. As a DEI consultant,
that's part of your job. That is your job. Let's keep it all the way.
I have to deal.
You will not make money if you do not consider white tears. White tears is a part of the job description, right?
Yes, exactly, Kevin. But there's ways to deal with that. Like I was having a conversation with a wonderful white woman and trying to figure out how we can work together, because she does workshops with white people on kind of a primer for what they need to work on before they even start to
your undergrad for white
engage. Studies. Yes. Because, there's questions like, oh, I don't want to say something stupid. And what do I need to know? And I'm scared. And, there's all this stuff around that quite honestly, yes, we're going to get triggered as Black people around some of this stuff. And even as a consultant, I get triggered, and I have to be really in tune to what is going on with my emotions when stuff comes up. But I think those are some of the resources I can use, is having a white person come in and do a workshop with white people to kind of prime them before we engage and get into some of the stuff that gets hard and those uncomfortable conversations and things like that. So that I'm not having to take on most of that, right?
It's crazy about what you just said? Who project managed that? You did.
I did.
Right?
I did.
That's what I'm saying. That's the essence of what I'm saying, is that I got tired of project managing.
Gotcha. Yeah. I got you. Right. And that's understandable.
And as a DEI consultant, I love that you're not tired. My job is to empower you, because I know you out there energizing, buddy.
Well, my wife does go I don't know how you can handle this. She'll say to me, how can you deal with race all the time? It's exhausting for me. And I mean, I do have to be careful about self-care, because I have a history of just going and going and going until I, hit a wall. But for me, again,
there has to be fulfillment, right?
It's about truth for me. It's about truth and about the fact that this is a moment and I want to do as much as I can.
Got you.
And that's where it comes from for me. Again, everybody's different. There's other people who I've heard similar to what you're saying. I need self-care. I need to make sure that I'm not having to educate you or whatever,
Right.
you need to go do the work, white fragility, all that stuff. So I think everybody approaches it differently and it's a personal decision. But I do think we all need support around that. It's a tough one.
Right.
I mean, even me as a DEI consultant, I'm considering, having a white person come in and help. Whereas before I was like, why, does a white person have to get involved? But I do think for this particular thing, they do. Otherwise, it's double duty kind of for me to deal with the emotional element around it and to help move people along.
I'd have to 100% agree with you on that. All the consultants that I work with that are more successful, that's one of the key factors. Yeah. It's never just one Black woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's never that.
Otherwise, I could see getting burnt out very quickly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or hitting a wall in that. I mean, I haven't dealt with a client like this yet where everybody is white, but I could see hitting a wall as the only Black person in the mix in that situation.
Oh yeah, that's common. That's so common, like especially when you're working with schools or governments. Mm-hmm. That's like the norm.
Yeah. So these are all things I have to consider. And I did sign up recently for a self-care workshop. I can't remember the name of it, but one of my favorite practitioners referred me to it and gave me a 50% discount. So I was like, yes, I'm all over that. Not only it's a virtual kind of retreat thing where you spend time thinking about self-care. And I'm not sure totally what all is involved. I have a sense that you probably set some goals and a framework for it and things like that. And then afterwards, you spend time doing the things that came out of the workshop. Nice. And there's a networking component to it too, which allows you to keep accountability and make sure that not only are you getting in touch with people who can help you with your career, but you're also making sure you're accountable and you're following through on the self-care. Because sometimes that, you go to one thing and then it's like back to running 1,000 miles an hour. So I like the approach and I'm looking forward to it.
So what would be helpful for you as we wrap up? What resources can we bring your way and how can people get with you?
I would say if you are a marketing organization, around the sweet spot, I think is 50 employees or so. Yep. And if you are a recruiting organization, because I love to not only impact the client I'm working with, but I also like to impact their clients as well. So for me, that's a twofer. Please reach out if you need some DEI assistance. I'm happy to help. I make substantive change, not just performative change. Mm-hmm. I send you on a journey that is a lifelong journey. And I'm with you in rolling out the initiatives, but I'm also with you even after that as an advisor. And I have experience that has worked. And I also I work with advisors with years of experience that support me and help me to be successful in this area. So L2diversity.com is the website, and LessFish41 on LinkedIn is my LinkedIn handle. Feel free to reach out to me.
Perfect. Well, hey, thank you so much for your time. It was real. Thank you for letting me back.
Kevin, you always take it there, and I love it. I love it. I appreciate all the support that you are giving to us in this space. You are making a difference in our lives. So appreciate you.